So thank you very much for this debate. It will be a short debate.
Really?
Because
you didn't tell me.
You asked for it.
Okay.
No, because immediately when we are finished at 35, the next meeting starts. The three of us will be blown out, but you should stay. I said already now, before I forget it at the end.
Very encouraging for the audience.
So it's no break.
No.
Just the two or three of us will disappear. I think this is an interesting debate between a European Affairs Minister of a country which wants to join the European Union and the European Affairs Ministers of a country which has joined the European Union. It's all the experiences, with the possibilities to give advice, to ask questions, and also the possibilities to learn from each other. I was at that time, in 2004, 2007, the General Rapporteur of the European Parliament for enlargement. So I have learned a little bit from that time. My first question is, Mrs. Gorčević, because you have to work under these conditions, the mission letter from Ursula von der Leyen to the possible new commissioner for enlargement. This comes from Slovenia, from the neighborhood, of your neighborhood. And perhaps you can give me a few remarks about that, whether you are satisfied with that mission statement.
First of all, let me thank to my dear colleague Martin here for having me in Prague, and also you, Mr. Brok, for chairing this panel, and also for the audience, please stay with us. But regarding your question, yes, we are very satisfied as a candidate country, which really now can speak about very successful year. I think that one of the messages that Madam Ursula von der Leyen gave with the new commissioner for the enlargement is one very positive feedback for all of us, having in mind that having enlargement in focus for the European Union. That's how we see it. From the other hand, if we see that Slovenia, who is pro-enlargement country, and like you mentioned, our neighboring country is also someone who is going to lead this Commission for the enlargement, I think this is something that not only the Montenegro, but all candidate countries can look forward. If I'm well informed, by the beginning of November, there are going to be the interviews, so you're going to see if Ms. Kos is going to be the commissioner for the enlargement. I really wish her all the best and all the luck in those interviews, and let's hope that this Commission for the enlargement and with this European Commission as well, we are going to have more successful things over the enlargement in the whole mandate. I think that with the new commissioner, it is something that Montenegro can show that we are very much ready for the closing chapters by the end of the year, and also to show the commitment of the whole Western Balkan countries as well. Someone who is leading this process, and Montenegro is front runner for a while. Now I must say that this is where we are in the final stage, where someone who is very, like Slovenia, is very supportive for enlargement. I think that it's only one thing that is plus for this whole process where we are standing at the moment. So very optimistic message that came from the Madam von der Leyen from one hand, and from the other hand, very, very supportive messages that we are getting from all the capitals around the European Union as well.
Do you think when the negotiation will be finished, under these circumstances?
Yes, of course.
How many chapters are open and closed already?
Well, when we are speaking about Montenegro, we have opened all chapters, closed only 3, and in the last 7 years we weren't speaking about the closing chapters at all. This year was one of the most successful years for Montenegro when we speak about European integration. I must say that this year we organized, well, not we, but with European Commission and the Member States, we organized 2 IGCs through the Belgian presidency, one in January, the second one in June, where we got first ever benchmark report for the chapters 23 and 24. And you know how much important is judiciary and rule of law area. So after this, very successful, because last week we finished the final reports for the closing benchmarks and the floor closing chapters by the end of the year. If we succeed in technical way, yes, we succeeded as Montenegro, and we have sent this final report to the European Commission as well. Now, this is because the enlargement and this process is not only the technical issue; it's also the political matter as well. Now we just need 27, and I say just need 27 member states that are going to vote for Montenegro to close these 4 chapters in December. Let's hope so. And the next and the third one, intergovernmental conference in Brussels. So in that way, with these 4 chapters, I think this is something that it is a huge thing, not only for Montenegro, but also for the member states and also for European Commission, which is in the beginning of the mandate in December. But also I can see that one of the things that is happening also in European Commission and in all DGs that we are having to say as a trouble and one of the obstacles, the people that are working in DGs have forgotten how to close the chapters. So this is something that we lead also because it's been a while since the chapters are closed. So now we are with the new methodology also have this new memory of how to close the chapters for all other countries that are following us.
Martin, you have a lot of experience in politics, and you have followed the Czech membership. If I remember rightly, 97, 98, the candidate status was given. You were a member of the European Union in 2004.
Yeah.
This lasts now longer. How can we increase the speed? Because the Western Balkan countries are waiting already since 2 decades for a real progress.
That's a good question. Thank you. Also, thank you for the invitation and having me here. How to increase the speed? I don't know exactly.
He's looking at me, actually. That's a good thing.
We had a wonderful and fruitful
It's a difficult
debate.
question for diplomats.
We had the debate with Madam Minister Maida a short time before, and I think what is the most important issue is to convince the population that EU is really important goal, and it's giving some positives and progress for the country. What is not the issue for Montenegro, because as I understand, 80% of population supports the membership, what is much higher number than we do have now here in Czechia. But what is difficult and what is not increasing the speed is to explain that it is not only about changing the legislation, it's about adopting it in your minds and in your hearts. For example, to adopt a new law against corruption, it's important, but doesn't mean that corruption disappeared. What is necessary, even more important, is to really, in practice, to realize what and then to act in this manner and in this new law. Montenegro is, of course, as every single Western Balkans country, pretty complicated in internal issue, with a lot of national and questions, and also some kind of heritage of ex-Yugoslavia and everything. It's something what doesn't increase the speed, just like an opposite. And what to do? I think just maybe my advice is stupid, but just to believe that you are on the right track and continue, not to be, let's say, frustrated if it's not going like you expected. And we also discussed with Maida that maybe it would be important to make some road show to visit all the capitals of 27 to convince the leaders of 27 countries that Montenegro is on the right track, doing well, because I'm sure for many European politicians and statesmen it's pretty difficult to understand what is the difference between Bosnia and Herzegovina and Montenegro and Northern Macedonia. There are some. And just to convince us or European politicians that you are the one who should be among the first who will be finally adopted as a new member, maybe 28 and 28. I wish you the best.
But after the experience of so many enlargement rounds in the last decades, we have also the situation that some people believe there must be more safeguards that candidate countries, new member countries, should follow the European road. And how such safeguards can be done? By stricter negotiations or in other ways. If I see the development in Hungary, I see some of the developments in with your cousins in Slovakia, then there could be a reason to become nervous.
Do you have any easier question? You touched a very sensitive issue, which is actual situation with Hungary and maybe also with Slovakia. I'm not sure whether Slovakia is on the same track, but maybe is.
No, I'm not same track. Made a slightly different.
And of course, the example of Hungary is kind of warning or giving us some reservations towards future enlargement, future new members, which could be also a new troublemakers, as Hungary actually is. And I don't know whether there are some safeguards, maybe, and how much it is open.
Pretty much open.
I think to be a little bit more tough against everyone who is breaking the rules and spirit of European Union and European values, because it's not only about money, it's about sharing values, basically. So whoever is not able to respect the European values and the groundstones in which we are building up must be punished, maybe even with Article 7, I don't know, but let's hope we will have a mood enough and power enough to show that our principles are really the most important issue which we are going to build this union, not only about sharing the money.
We had, before the last enlargement round and also afterwards, in the European Union, the will to modernize the European Union in order to make the European Union ready for enlargement. We called it at that time deepening and widening. Do you see any efforts by your partners in the European Union to do that? You always talk about what your candidate countries have to do with the Copenhagen criteria and so on. But there's also the question of integration capacity. You made a lot of more competences and better decision procedures in the TDS Amsterdam, Nice and Lisbon to prepare for this. Do you see any ambition in the European Union, the talks you have with the Commission and the talks you have with your fellow ministers from member countries, that such a will is there?
Well, I must be very honest. For the first time, we see European Commission and also member states as a partner. Because for the first time, we have the roadmap of closing the chapters. Before this, we always had some years and some goal when we should finish all the chapters. I'm speaking now about this technical part of closing benchmarks and closing chapters and everything else, because without that technical part, we cannot speak about the other things. But for the first time, we have the partner from the other side where we communicate, where we negotiate about the whole process. And this is something that is happening. This is something that has been shown for this last year of during this new government from Montenegro, and this is something that is really has been used from the all political parties also in Montenegro as well. I understand Martin when he told that no one needs a troublemaker and no one needs someone who is going to, because as we know how things going on when it comes to the voting in the European Union as well. If you have some of the voice who is against someone or something, then it is very hard to explain why Montenegro is, well, it's not hard. It's very easy to explain why Montenegro is a perfect match. We are the perfect package for the next candidate country to join the EU, because we never have been the troublemaker, and already with the NATO experience that other member countries are having with us, they know how we are very productive, how we are very open, constructive about all the ideas, and we always had this pro-European issue that is leading us. You mentioned it's not about the money. Yes, it's never about the money. even the fact that it is good if we have one, but it's not about the finances. That's something that is motivating us. For us, the motivation is European standard. For us, the motivation is to make the difference how the things are working back home. For us, the difference is those European values that you're mentioning. And the good point, Elmar, is that you have mentioned is always the focus on the candidate countries. What have you finished? Have you finished your homework? Where are you standing at this moment? What are the closing benchmarks? And then from the other hand, before in the past, we had this declarative, yes, we are all for the enlargement, but when it comes to the voting, we had some of the enlargement skeptic countries that are member states. And I'm certain that for those countries, the main reason for that skepticism over the enlargement is because they don't know the real situation that is in the candidate countries. I'm certain that they don't know what we have done in the area of the rule of law exactly. I'm certain that the best thing for Montenegro is, and I already spoke that with Martin over the lunch, to make a case for Montenegro and to present Montenegro not only with the reforms, but as a potential in economic way, in investment way, in any other way, not only as a tourist beautiful country which has the beautiful coast. So in that way, I think that much bigger communication with the member state is something that they are aware of every candidate country's progress, can resolve these issues, and not only to look over from our side, because Montenegro is going to finish this homework when it comes to the technical part. But then there is that political homework from the member states, all 27 of them, to show not the political will, but the readiness to have that 28 microphone on every decision that they are making in the European Union, and also to have Montenegro, because we're going to be the next one actually, to have Montenegro on that 28 chair, who is going to be someone who is supporting European values at its best. So yes, this is the double way street, definitely. So far the focus was on the candidate countries, and when we were speaking about the enlargement, why it's not alive, the guilt was always on the candidate countries more. So it's like you're not finishing your part of the job and everything else. Okay, now we are finishing it. We have sent all the closing chapters to the European Commission for approval. Now it's the test for the member states and the European Commission as well, to show that this technical part is finished, and let's go to the political one to see if the European Union is ready for the enlargement.
Look, you said rightly that you are very convinced Europeans and you will not create any trouble.
Of course, we are not. We are the best, actually. Look at us.
Viktor Orban the first time in 1988, and I invited him as a young student to Brussels. Perhaps the biggest mistake of my life. And we were close friends, but he has changed dramatically. He was a real convinced European. Then he changed. So there must be a certain control. Will be, for example, your country, let's say when Belgrade tries to interfere anymore in the future in internal Montenegrin policy, what they have done quite often, would you then use a veto against Serbian membership in the European Union?
I am for the Serbian membership in the European Union. I am for every country from the Western Balkan to join the European Union. And I see the whole Western Balkan countries, but on the regatta principles, merit-based principles, definitely not to look at us as a whole package. In that way, I would personally help not only the Serbia, but the whole neighboring countries, as having in mind our experience and lessons learned in the so far and in the next couple of the years, because we plan to finish this very soon, we are going to be someone who is going to lead by example. If we want the stable European Union, we need the whole Western Balkan countries. It depends on them if they want to join the EU, and I'm not today representing the other Western Balkan countries as well, but from our side, they will always have the support.
I will go tomorrow to Sofia, and I try to learn since a few years what are the historical reasons why Bulgaria vetoes Northern Macedonia. So let's see about that. Martin, what discussion for reforms you have in the Council? European Affairs Ministers also responsible for the internal development of the European Union.
You are right.
And we have, with all our ambitions for enlargement, then 35 countries, something like that. The probability that an idiot is part of that becomes higher the more you have. It's a natural way. And should we not have less veto and more majority voting? Or let's not say just majority voting in the classical sense. This is 55% and 65%, but more openness for decisions in a certain way. Is that not a point where the countries, especially who want to have enlargements, and I think Czech Republic belongs to such countries, to have any proposals that we come to that openness of the European Union, that a union with 35 members is effective?
First of all, I am afraid you can find some idiots even inside EU already.
Yeah,
you don't need any enlargement.
But the probability is higher, and therefore take away the veto principle.
But it's good I didn't say this. It's good I haven't said this.
You just opened.
We talked about two of them already.
Maybe the most sensitive chapter of this negotiation talks, because to be absolutely frank, and I'm not saying by the first time, sometimes I've got the feeling that those who are opening the question of institutional changes as the condition for future enlargement are doing it just not because to make any changes, but just to stop the enlargement. Because they know how sensitive it is to touch this veto right. Every single country will have a very strong internal opposition, especially the small countries. They are having the same power of their voices like the biggest one. So this is, in some countries, including Czechia very likely, it's kind of political suicide to start debate about veto right as a condition for the enlargement. So I don't have answer yet. What I think is necessary, I could say for Montenegro, I don't see it as a real trouble because, sorry, Maida, Montenegro is a very small country and there is definitely no need for any institutional changes for adopting this kind of country as a new member. We don't need to change anything. On the other hand, for the future enlargement, especially the nearer we are with the debate about Ukraine, for example, we will need to discuss what can we change or should we change, must we change in the internal rules. I think with our fresh experience with blackmailing by Hungary, we have to discuss what can we do to protect our common interests as a majority, and also how to protect the rights of the small countries to protect their own national interests, if any. I'm not sure whether Hungary actually is protecting Hungarian interests, maybe some others. But my opinion, and it's not very original, I think it's not even mine, there are some ways what we could discuss, for example, to enlarge the veto right for some kind of small blocking minority. Not only one country could block everything, but maybe 2 or 3. We can even find even 3 idiots in the 35 for sure, so it's not enough. But I think it could be the way how could we discuss. The other way is in case that one country decides to block every single decision by itself, must be able to declare what kind of national interest is in danger in case it will be not used as a veto right. And maybe there are some other ways how to make it soften, because actually the veto right is very, very tough instrument in which you could fight the whole rest of the European Union for yourself or maybe for someone else. So let's think and let's debate about the ways how to make it a little bit weaker, but still strong enough to protect the small countries and their rights and interests.
But look, if there is no veto principle, even the big countries lose the possibility to defend their interests. What is a good thing? Would be a disaster if Germany would have a veto principle in certain questions of energy policy. And we would not have an internal market with the veto principle. The internal market became only possible because the veto principle was deleted in the treaties of Maastricht and the Single Act. Without that, we will not have that. The European Union is only in that places successful where there's no veto principle. You can see that in every point. And it has to be considered even the stronger the European Union comes.
You're right, and we also have to be frank that actually, even now, 70 or 80% of all decisions within the EU is made by qualified majority. So it is not the biggest issues, but it's politically very sensitive. Whenever whoever is opening the debate about veto right will be strongly attacked, and we can see all around Europe now the nationalist powers are growing up. They are stronger and stronger, and they are on the way how to even maybe destroy the unity of European Union if we don't react properly and soon. So this is something what could extend this very strong debate about national contra European Union interest. And it's a very, very dangerous issue.
When we see that, that my last remark for myself, but I'm very much concerned about that. When we see the foreign and security policy development, and that the European Union is unable to be effective in that, to make decisions, then we can forget all the discussions with Russia, China, and so on, and there's a change in the United States. And this has to be taken into account. And if that will not happen, the European Union is in one point in incredible progress. In the past, reason for all the wars we had in Europe, the 4 or 5 European powers made a decision about peace and war and frontiers. Within the European Union, all small countries sit on the same table of every decision. But if that method does not run because of the veto principle, we see already beginning in that, the Germans, the French, the British, and others cooperate in certain questions of foreign policy now already again in the last 2 or 3 years. And this should be considered, the smaller countries, whether what is possible to have no veto principle in the European Council, but decisions in the European Council in a fair way, or bring it out of the European Union. This has to be considered in smaller member countries. Madam Minister, what is your biggest problem now to fulfill the acquis communautaire? In the questions of internal market, in the questions of corruption, the rule of law, the main question which Mrs. von der Leyen has mentioned in the mission statement.
Well, yes, rule of law area is something that is the biggest actually challenge for not for Montenegro but for all other countries. The good thing is that we are on a good track with a good parliamentary majority of the 2/3 of the government that can vote for any changes that are now necessary for the judiciary especially. But also the good thing is that when it comes to the rule of law area and the European integration, we have great support and the great communication between the parliamentary majority and the opposition. This is very, very important if we want to have the reforms inside our country, because the integration process is not the process that yes, it is led by the government, but it's not only for the government. This is for the whole society and for the citizens. If we have everyone on board, even the fact that all the political parties, communication with the parliament, NGO sector and everyone else, only in that way we can have the reforms that are for the citizens and with the EU standards. Rule of law area with the good EBAR, and this is the minimum that any country is having based on the minimum of the European standards in the rule of law area. Montenegro has it at this moment. So now we have, well, in technically speaking, we have 6 closing benchmarks that we should close in next 2 years. Those are over tracking, over judiciary, how the court is working, because it's not only about voting the laws. That's the easy part, the implementation, and to find the right people that can deal with all the corruption inside the country, with all the details and the organized crime and everything else, to find the best people that are going to be independent from the political any political influence is something that I think not only Montenegro but every country is dealing. So the biggest challenge is to find the best people for the most sensitive positions, to call them that way. Besides that, we are going to have a lot of challenges. Having in mind that 12 years we are negotiating, so a lot of people are very exhausted from one hand, and from the other hand, when you tell them we are going to finish this and to close everything in a little more than 2 years, they are very scared. So we don't want anyone to be scared. We want to have the optimism, to use the momentum inside the country, and also to speak with the member states. From the technical part, I'm certain that with the member state help when it comes to the experts that are going to be the part with us in the closing chapters, everything can be easy. From the political part, it's not only about the will of the member states, but also the commitment that they are really for the enlargement like we are speaking about, because of all the issues that every member states are having from their inner, situations in their own countries.
Thank you very much. Though you will not follow the examples of your Albanian neighbors.
Let's hope
Not
that you're...
Let's
Okay, let's finish on a positive note. Montenegro is going to be very positive all the time.
Look, the last question to you, and then perhaps both can make a remark about the overall global importance of enlargement of the Western Balkans in Europe. But we put in 2007 as Bulgaria and Romania joined the European Union 3 years later because they were not so far in their development, the so-called protection clauses, which meant that for some time the Commission could have the chance to interfere if the development in a new member country does not go so well as thought. Do you think that could be an idea for some safeguards which would make it also even easier in some member countries to come to ratification?
Simple answer is yes. The less simple answer is yes, but it's a question how much will be the candidate countries able to adopt it, to accept this additional conditions, because either we are fair to everyone and everyone is the same position, or we are not. And just to make this kind of difference towards Western Balkan countries is maybe the sign that we are not fair enough. But as I said, simply saying, yeah, it could be the answer, it could be the safeguard to make some transformation period in which we can be a little bit more strongly involved in the internal development.
So your final words, yours?
Yes.
Okay. You have the final word.
Well, my final word is definitely that we should use this momentum. We should use the opportunity of the Slovenian Commissioner for the Enlargement and the whole Commission as well. And we should use the friends from the member state so we can finish this job by the 2028.
Thank you very much. I hope it will be all successful. The countries of the Western Balkans should have the right to join the European Union, but we have to do it well.
Yeah.
If we do it not well in the negotiations, the outcome will be a disaster. So the quality of the negotiation of the results are important for the future of the European Union, including the readiness of the European Union for its own reform capacity.
You're absolutely right.
Thank
On the
you
other
very
hand, it could be disaster even without enlargement.
That's true too, but to destroying the European Union is worse as without enlargement.
Absolutely agree.
To join a European Union which breaks down because certain things do not happen, this could be not the future. We had at that time certain countries like United Kingdom. We wanted to do so much enlargement as possible without any conditions. The only reason for them, for the Brits at that time, was to destroy or weaken the European Union from the inside. That was the motive. And this we have to keep in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.